this is Jessica Seeley. Yes, that's what they used to call me. And it's 2070, and I have lived through a roller coaster of a timeline, switching tracks off and on, different train tracks, different realities, going through different portals. Wow, there were times in my life where things were so bad. Just like, jeez Louise, who could even imagine anything getting so dark as this? I mean, give me a break. I would have, what the heck? Why? We used to have to feed infants to Cybertrucks, put it in the hood, and the truck would eat it. It was horrible. I had to be pregnant and give my newborn babes into the truck as fuel, and so on and so forth, just living in hell. But then something changed again, and we ate the billionaires, and we took those who thought they had power over us and sent them to Mars, and the very ships where they were trying to send us to be slaves on Mars, and now they live up there, and we live here in paradise. And I'm reporting to you from my beautiful treehouse in the beautiful woods, and there's rivers and streams and fish and children laughing, and we read good books. And let me tell you, my life going from the 1980s to now 2070, what the heck, so many different weird things, all the way from Monica Lewinsky, Jerry Springer, Nick at Night, to Donald Trump and his weird things, the weird Elon guys, to the Dark Ages, and now finally I can rest knowing that everything is okay and we lived through it. There were times when we didn't see a way ahead, but now we know we have to work to keep away those who we cannot be tempted by power and greed, for that is the destroyer of all. So I feel I can just slip away now. Thank you all for being you. Thank you.
Wow, this is Jessica Seeley in the year 2025. And my life is a miracle. And I'm here for whatever should come. And I will stay alive and stay joyful. And I will resist the dumbest psychos to have ever lived. Also ugly. Not that I don't really feel like people can be ugly. I think everyone's beautiful. But these guys, I just can't believe how bad they are to look at and listen to. I don't even have the brain capacity for any of this. I did a political podcast this week with Francesca Fiorentini, who's so fabulous and smart and has so much to say about what's going on. But I got to be honest, I kind of was boring on this podcast, unlike this one and every other one. I'm so interesting usually. But I didn't feel like I had so much to say because, you say, this happened with they're detaining somebody as a prison. Like there's a guy who's a Palestinian with a green card who's a protester, and they've locked him up. He hasn't committed any crimes, and then there's all these other horrible things happening. You want me to comment on this? it doesn't make any sense. What am I going to do? How will I respond? I feel like you're trying to plug a thumb drive into the wrong hole, and I can't process this information. I'm not wired for that. Makes no sense. It's too stupid. This timeline is too stupid. But we'll see. Anything could happen. But I have been screenshotting everyone that when I'm scrolling, I scroll online, I scroll on all these apps to disconnect, but connect at the same time. It's weird. It's not good. But every time someone mentions the word timeline, I screenshot it to kind of put together even what I'm trying to do on this weird little thing. And there's lots of people saying timeline. Irene, too, said it's weird to be a comedian in this timeline. And I agree with that. I've often struggled with why would I be trying to tell jokes as everything falls apart? Like, isn't that weird? What a stupid thing. But I kind of, the more I think about it, the more I'm willing to hold that that's just what I am at this time. And I've been like, Netanyahu's like bombing children and we're at war and all these different things. Isn't it weird for me to just keep doing comedy? And I'm like, actually, comedy is normal. Going out and wanting to make people laugh and have a good time and spread joy, that's a normal thing to do. You're the one being weird for starting a war. That's the weird thing to do. It's not weird that I'm a comedian. It's weird that you're killing people. So I don't know what to do with you guys. I don't know how to push back. But I'm staying alert, awake, and staying alive and surviving and staying connected. I think the best thing we could do is stay connected. And I want to say, what a good job all of you are doing. That I see, you're processing, you're getting out there, you're working, you're supporting your family, and you're not giving in to the fascism. I think is the most important. I just wanted to say that you're all doing a very good job. I know it can be hard to hold all of our different realities of like, what do I just continue to live a normal life with this stuff going on? What do I just go to the store? What do I just drink a coffee? What do I just talk to my mom on the phone? What do I just go on a walk? What do I just pet a dog? Like, it just all feels like a little bit in a discord with the things we're hearing of how the terrible people are making, I want to say, the stupidest, worst decisions in the worst direction to take humanity possible. It's just like, yes, let's destroy the whole world and get as much power as we can. Weird choice, in my opinion. But anyway, I know how difficult it is to hold all of our realities. It just feels like a little crazy making to just keep living. And shouldn't we just stop, quit our jobs and train as assassins? Maybe. And I want to say that we'll figure it out. Just stay with me and know that you're good. You're doing a good job, you guys. It doesn't feel like it fits together that well, but I do have this guest on today whose name is Kyle Crawford, and really interesting thinker, wrote a book called Ambiguity is the Answer. And basically, I just feel like he just presents all these different people who have found a way through and a way to change and a way to shift, honestly, the timeline. And, he talks about Darwin and Tig Notaro and Muhammad Ali and Thurgood Marshall, all these different people who found a way through and managed to live within some sort of gray area and make a difference by staying creative and staying connected. Here's a little line from the book. It says, "No crisp line divides a meadow from a forest. There is always overlap, always a liminal zone, which transitions us from where we were to where we're going. To present a new way of seeing is to introduce ambiguity. It is to ask someone to live in the forest and the meadow at the same time, to hold two interpretations simultaneously, and for some time, not know which is best. In this sense, the success of producing ambiguity is that it makes way for a fuller acceptance tomorrow. So I guess, there's a lot of temptation to live in a very black and white, like, things are bad, I have no power, it's over. But just hold your little ambiguities, my babies, and the not knowing, and live within the mystery, and we will see a way forward, I believe. So I'm excited. Well, one thing I'll say about this interview is I was very sick, and I had been sick for so long. I've been sick almost all winter long. I seem to be getting better now. So definitely a little congestion left, but so sick, so tired. And you can tell it's so hard for me to talk at all in this podcast. Like every word, to be honest, that I tried to push through my sad little destroyed throat was a struggle. But we did it on Zoom, and I had canceled on him for being sick the week before. So I just wanted to push through and get this interview out and freaking get this podcast out. Not that anyone's begging for it, but I want to I want to move forward. I want to put something out. I don't know why. I'm more insecure than ever. I feel like I have less to say than ever. But what advice I would give to someone else doing that, feeling that way, is just put one foot in front of the other. So I'm trying to take my own advice, okay? And I'm trying to push through all my insecurities about my age and feeling helpless, powerless, dumb, weird. I got toenail fungus. I got what my dermatologist calls barnacles on my body. They're just like white little, they just look like barnacles. Can I get them burned off? Yeah, but it's expensive. And they don't actually hurt anyone except for my partner. If he tries to touch my naked body, we'll scrape him. So I do feel weird and insecure, and I was sick, but I'm trying to show up in what little ways I can, not knowing what I'm doing. Because I just gotta keep on keeping on. And I went to an open mic this week, and it was a lot of young people, and they were really good. They were doing all their best material. It was like a packed mic. And then I went a little bit over, and I got played off with music. And then the host gets on and is like, just so you know, don't feel like you have to do all your time. Because I was doing this thing at the end where I was like, I have like 10 seconds. And I was like kind of making jokes about how much time I have left. And then I was so grumpy and so humiliated that at this point in my career, with all this comedy I've done, that I would be played off and then have this comment made about me after I leave. And I to this other comic I know who's my age, who I think was considering being my friend, but I was like, I didn't even go over to him, like in this way where I feel like people in the audience could have heard me like say that. And I just have like this insecure grumpiness about me lately. And it's very much, I'm going to be honest, my mom is present in this. This is how my mom sometimes operates in the world, with little like, I didn't even, what are you talking about? It's like this kind of compulsive uncoolness. And my mom is actually really cool, and I really love my mom, but there is this sort of defensiveness that courses through all of my ancestry. And I see it with my grandma. It's like this guilt and this, I don't know, but it's not unrelated to Karen-ness. It feels at least tangential, like, and the way it comes up for me is, things like that where I say, I didn't even go over my time. And then I look at my voice memo that I'd recorded, and I did go like 10 seconds over. But and then like, when I'm working at the restaurant, someone doesn't say thank you. Sometimes I just go, you're welcome, and I also do this thing when I'm driving right now where if someone cuts me off or is passing me in an aggressive way, I like wave my arm in the air like really dramatically and go right ahead. Go forth. Go in front of me. No problem. I don't mind. What I'm realizing is that I have to get to work. Hopefully you're not having to go to work right now and you can just listen to my interview with Kyle and read his book. It's called Ambiguity is the Answer. You'll find it online. And I just think it's really positive in the way that everyone in the book, they come across a seeming end of the line and kind of find a way around it in some way, or it's just about staying creative and open. And I hope all of you are well and enjoy. Author and activist and any other titles that you want.
No, I feel like that already inflated.
I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
From the birdcage. Anyway, we got Kyle Crawford. So fabulous to have you here. I'm so excited to have you on my new podcast called Some Timeline. And you wrote a book called Ambiguity is the Answer, which is perfect because this is a very ambiguous podcast. I don't really know what it is, but we're doing it, and then this is it.
This is it. It doesn't matter.
And it's the answer.
This is what the people came for, right?
It doesn't even matter. Who cares?
It does not matter. I had a friend, like a good friend, who is like, so like, I was like, the title is basically a joke, kind of like, and he's like, so really the point is like, who knows? Who knows? Who cares? Like,
I like,
it's like definitely, it's like a very firm statement about something that's kind of like, we'll see. Yeah,
for sure. I also feel like I'm very ambiguous as a person and as a comedian, and it's been a big struggle for me actually in a way because I've had people in the industry, as we call it here, I feel like pushing me to be this or that a lot, and I haven't been able to get my brand, I guess. And I actually had one person tell me, you either need to lose weight or to gain weight because people don't know if you're fat or thin.
Jesus Christ.
And people need to know, are you fat or thin? So I could keep going on these. It's this Hollywood, beautiful town, full of horrific ideas as well.
Good Lord, I'm sure. Yeah.
How have you been? What have you been up to? Then we can circle back.
Yeah, totally. Wrote a book, but mostly just like I live in New York now. I got kids, and I feel like just normal. I feel like normal life, just busyness and whatever. I feel like part of the reason I even wrote a book was like, I realized like I can't run around like I used to run around. I was like, I need something that just fucking runs around for me. Like, I don't want whatever to be contingent on me having the energy for things. So I was like, what if something was just in people's homes and I didn't have to be in their homes, So like, to be totally honest, I feel like it's just been a lot of regular life and then, having something on the side. But I'm curious too about your like post Oakland. When I saw you in Oakland, I think you were debating going to LA and you're like, I kind of have to, like, I love it here, but I feel like I have to go there. I'm curious about how that shift went and how years in it feels.
Yeah. Can I say that it has been pretty good for me in general in terms of, I think I did get to a point in the Bay where I stopped like being nervous to perform and I sort of hit a plateau. And I noticed that I would come here and I was never the best person on the show here. Like I always had someone to kind of look up to or be nervous around. So in that respect, it's been kind of fun. And I do like LA. I haven't super found my way into the industry, which is the point of being here. And there's a lot of probable reasons for that. And one of them is my energy, probably too, especially at this point in my life. I feel like I would love to have a book that run around for me, because every time I have a show, I'm like, oh no, this is terrible. The sun has gone down. I've got to go out. And then it's fun, but it sucks too.
Yeah. Can I ask you this? I'm super curious about this. I feel like, and I don't know if this is your general vibe with comedy, but I feel like in writing, I feel like I was kind of like, I don't know, it's like a humility. You're kind of like, oh, I'm just doing the best I can and I'm glad people like it or whatever. But there are moments where you just want to like talk your shit. You're like, I did this thing. I don't feel like anybody's brain works like this. I want it, because I know in comedy is like, it is a struggle and it takes time and all of that. But like, I am very curious of that feeling when you just have like a killer night and you're not just like, oh, I'm just glad it was a good one. But like, you're with your friends. You're like, nobody can fucking tell jokes. Like, I can't. Like, do you have moments like that? Do you get to like kind of talk your shit about like the way your work like comes out and how different it is than other people's?
Yeah, I have nights where I'm like, this was incendiary. I got that word from Almost Famous. No, I do. I have nights where it's just like something happened. It was magic. And I've gotten better at like, I do really recognize my own special, unique personhood and the way it is funny.
Yeah.
The way I'm funny.
Yeah. You're hilarious.
It can be good.
I remember years ago you said like, how do people stay sane or something? And like, I remember being like, I listened to your comedy. Like there weren't a ton of clips out, but like I would go back to some of your clips so many times and just like die. And I feel like part of that was even like before Oakland. I don't know how much I even knew that you were doing that. I don't know even like how much you did that in Bellingham, but like, I feel like once I caught a small number of that stuff, I was just like, I know you had to retire it, but the Bulls joke, like, I don't know, there was just like the joke about somebody and some guy walking out on a vibrator joke. You know, I was just like, there's so many things I would just go back to and just be like, this is perfect. This is so good. Your energy and like the punchline. I don't know. I just, I've loved it. I've definitely gone back to stuff over and over. So
that's very sweet. Yeah, there is something that keeps me doing it for sure. I will say that my energy and my quickness of brain has gone down in recent years. So I have to actually write more. Like I can't just expect that I'm going to say the right thing at the right time on stage. I have to think things through a little bit more. So that's interesting. We'll see. There was one part of your book where you talked about quitting, and I don't even remember what it was, but you're like, the ability to move on from one thing to the other, to another thing, basically. And it was this whole paragraph that was just about like being able to let go and redefine yourself. And I'm like, there's a million comedians that like are like, I should quit, but like don't know how. And it just really reminded, because it's like, I'm a comic. This is what I am. And it's like, it does kind of ruin your life. I wish. So it's like, can I like let go and move on? Not necessarily me, but like.
Yeah, there's a chapter on like retreat. Yeah. And part of it is like, it's not just like retreating, I think, from like, I don't know, like, oh, something's hard and I'm like, gonna back out of it. But I feel for me, and I think that chapter is a little more like it is it's in the sense of like I have an identity that I won't let myself walk back a little bit. Like if I view myself in a certain way, which is in some ways like rigid because it's like defined, then I'm going to expect myself, in order to reinforce that, to keep acting in a certain way over and over. It's not so heady, but there is something to like, if you really think of yourself as like a very specific like noun kind of identity, like it kind of boxes you in to the types of things that you might do when presented with any given situation. And so like part of it is like, it's just being willing to be like, that piece is not necessary or like appropriate for all situations. And if I'm too wed to that idea of myself, like I'm not going to give myself the other options that other situations kind of ask of me. And yeah, I think that it's always like a balance. It's like we have to hold on to the things that I think make us strong and confident, and like the things that are hard and take lots of time. Like I'm all for that. I think people actually struggle to find things that they build a life around for years and years and years. But I do think there is something to like, I had a phase where like I was doing my own thing. I didn't have like a real job and I was piecing it all together. Right. And I remember like, just like running out of money and like, I remember like they put a boot on my car. I was like, this is all, I'm just like, everything is like crumbling and feeling like, oh, if I get a job, that means like everybody's going to be like, oh God, what a lame or whatever. And
once
then just
they
being
put
like,
a boot on your car, it can be a real like existential time.
yeah. And like, but nobody cared. Nobody cared that I walked back from whatever I had been doing for years. Like nobody cared why or how or what is like, everybody has their own lives. And I think that like, for me, that's a good reminder. Like it's often like more internal than anything, I think.
And I think a lot of comedians struggle with like, who have found their brand or are a strong personality on stage, like people treating them like that. And then they start feeling boxed in. And I felt that way a lot in the beginning. But I guess I don't see myself like whatever I am on stage. That's just one moment of my day. Mm-hmm. And anyone that treats me like that's all I am, I'm not really going to pay close attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good. That seems very healthy.
I think so. I think I've grown. But yeah, retreating from comedy it's kind of impossible if you've been doing it too long. And it's like, I think that there's a lot of people that I'm like, oh, I think it'd be good for your life if you quit. And then I see other people who have quit and then they like have families and stuff and like a normal house and all this stuff. I'm like, seems nice. Congrats on getting out of the cult or whatever it is.
There is something though, I've thought about this like post the book coming out. Like I worked on this book for like almost like a decade. Like, and it was not all I did. It was like I squeezed it into all the little like gaps of the day or whatever. But like it was emotionally it was very weird to wake up and not have a thing to focus on anymore. Like where like I knew every day for years if I woke up and I could steal 5 minutes here or 10 minutes here, like I had something I wanted to fill that with. And I feel like I'm kind of through that a little bit now, but like I think that there's a lot to be said for your life consisting of something that you carry with you for years, kind of in addition to whatever else life has. And I do really believe like a lot of people go their whole life without those kinds of things. And I feel like it's actually like a blessing, whether it goes anywhere or not. Like it's a blessing that part of your life for years is like to have a thing that you're trying to sort out and you're trying to get better at and you're thinking about and you're like analyzing yourself in the process. Like it's cool because I feel like I had that for years and then like not having that, I'm kind of like, I just feel like I'm putzing around a little bit, but like, it's a sweet feeling. It's like, I feel like I maybe took it for granted a little bit.
You need to write the second book. Wait, actually, ambiguity isn't the answer. Sorry.
yeah, totally. It's like, can we get some clarity up in here? People are out of control. Yeah.
You know who's good at not having things to do though is me. I like if I'm on a plane, I'll just watch the map the whole time. And like if I have nothing to do, I'll just sit there and I love it.
I feel like there's people out there that pay like hundreds of thousands of dollars to achieve that level of living.
I think it's because I had COVID too many times and now my brain's slow enough that it works. No, I've always been a little like that. I don't really get bored.
Yeah. Do you remember those like health classes where they'd show like, if you do ecstasy, like here's how it wears away your brain. Yeah. Like sometimes when my brain goes slow, I'm like, is it just holes in the brain? Like I can't do anything. Like the matter's just out of there now. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think we looked at an alcoholic brain and it was like all smooth.
Whoa.
And I'm like, I think I probably have some
Smooth brain is a good band name, or like...
I got a smooth brain. I definitely did some smoothing out in my formative years.
Yeah. Well, we're reaping the consequences today.
But I loved the book, and one reason is and towards the end you say like, oh, we're definitely in a time where everything's kind of supposed to be rigid and categorized, and we're really leaning towards that, it seems. And I feel that that's so true on every side of the political everything. It just feels like people, and I've been watching a lot of Donald Trump. Have you seen this guy? I've been watching some of him and everyone around him talking in the way they talk about, this is common sense, people. We're the party of common sense. And I just think that that's really interesting, because to me, what they think is common sense is like, my brain went to this and I'm done.
Politics comes up a lot with Ambiguity, and I think that like, I do think a lot of the book is about how to like, how it can be helpful to you, right? But I do think politically, I think it's helpful to just name what it is, because essentially what they're doing with the common sense is saying like, here's a term that everybody identifies with. Everybody thinks they understand what this term means. And so they're just sort of saying like, whatever I do, you guys can interpret that as matching your definition. And so like the term is ambiguous because everybody's reading different things into it. But like, yeah, so it's helpful to be like, no, common sense, like some of this is just messed up and crazy and not at all common sense. Like, but they're sort of like stealing these terms in a way that allows everybody to like see their own interpretations on it. So I do think politically it's like, we're just going to be in that forever. They're just going to gaslight all of us for like, until it all burns up probably. But
have you read this book called The Milkman?
Mm-mm.
It's like this really underrated book, in my opinion. It's about this girl like set in Ireland during the Troubles. And it's kind of like all about her brain. It's her internal monologue and the way she kind of thinks, and being in this kind of fascist circumstances. And there's this whole thing of like, oh, what color is the sky? It's like she's in a community college or something. And the teacher asks like, what color is the sky? And they're like, blue, you stupid idiot. And she's like, is it? Like, look out the window right now. And it's like, not, you know, it's not always blue.
Yeah.
Just this kind of thing of like your brain like locking onto like really basic things and not allowing for any ambiguity, such as like sometimes the sky is gray or orange or whatever, depending on what the light's doing.
Yeah. And I think like to think back to like what you were saying about your comedy and people trying to like box you one direction or another. Like, I think that pressure is such a pain in the ass, but also that's why people probably resonate with what you actually do so much, is because like so many people get boxed for one thing or another. And like, you know, part of the premise in there is like, we really crave these things that are a mix of things. We like crave somebody that's like, this guy's a little blue, but it's kind of gray today too. And like over there, it's yellow. And like, you know what I mean? Like we crave, I think that like, it's funny. There's like a real relationship between those, that like the more it gets boxed up and categorized and like little digestible pieces, is like, we're sort of like, we internalize a little bit that that's what we want all the time too. And that's just like, it's just not true. And I think that like, definitely comedy, I think that you're like, is this comedy? Is this something more? Like, is this a bit, or is this honesty? Is that, you know what I mean? Like those moments I think are like the things that we get less and less because of that culture right now. And I think that, I think the pressure is always there to go that direction, but actually like, yeah, the real, like what we really want is not those things that we're told that we want all the time. I used to like very early on, I used to think about like road trips where everything goes okay. Like there's, I don't know if you've ever had one, but like they're incredibly boring. It's like,
I'm big on road trips,
to the place and we got there and ate, and like, it's like,
yeah, you want the story of like my tire went flat and we ended up meeting this weird guy, and
yeah,
he was a Nazi and we had to get away. And one time when I was on a road trip, we stopped at a weird gas station in Weed, and then like we went in there and the guys were like really creepy, and we were like, what's going on? And then we saw this like Nazi kind of shit on the wall, and then we were like, can we use the bathroom? And they were like really intimidating and scary, like they were like having a Nazi meeting in there. And then I went in the bathroom and there was like a naked mannequin in the tub, like a woman mannequin in their tub. And then I screamed and I ran out. So you're right. We need things to be weird on a road trip. We don't want everything to go perfectly because then we don't have that memory.
Yeah. We don't get the scars. Yeah.
But you're right. Like, I mean, one of the greats of stand-up, right, is Richard Pryor. Everyone goes back to Richard Pryor. And I think that is what made him so great, is he had this ability to make people feel multiple emotions at once. Like, it's like, how can this be so funny? I'm laughing so hard and feeling so much joy, and I'm so deeply sad at the same time. Like, he had that one bit, where he had, after he had like set himself on fire or something from like freebasing or whatever and had to go to the hospital. Afterwards, he went on stage and like lit a lighter on stage and like moved it, and he was like, "What is this?" And then he was like, "This is Richard Pryor" or something. And it's just like, is he really doing like a prop comedy about this horrible thing? And you mentioned Tig Notaro in your book too, and that famous album Live that she did. And that was like, gosh, there were a lot of great moments in stand-up in that period of the like 2010s.
What else? Yeah, what else comes to mind from that time?
I mean, that's before like Louis had a downfall.
Right.
When we were so young and innocent. But yeah, it just felt like that was a time when a lot of good things were happening with stand-up and people were trying things. But that, yeah, nothing else particularly comes to mind. I guess that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, that Tig Live set, I feel like it's just incredible. And I feel like gets at some of those mix. It's like, you might think you just want to laugh tonight, but actually like you can walk away with an experience that's so much deeper and richer. And yeah, and I think it's normal to go into things thinking you know what you want and then being pleasantly surprised that it's not that. It's something kind of beyond that. But I went out the other night with a friend for the first time in a while, and there was this, there's always like a guy at the bar that's like wants to tell you about the history of guitars or like music or something. There was like it was a techno guy. It was like an acid house techno. I don't know. These are like terms I don't know, but like he's just going off on all of this stuff. He's like, nobody does raves anymore, and nobody does all of it. And I was like, what makes you think that just stopped? Like, just because you're not invited like I was like, no offense, like you look like an undercover cop, like you're not gonna get invited to the rave. And he was just kind of like, oh, that's true, people do think I'm a cop. But like, I'm a firm believer that all of that stuff keeps happening. It doesn't happen in like the same venues, it doesn't happen like as publicized as ever. But I think also, that actually goes back to the book a little bit, like part of the way that the kind of like weird stuff gets cultivated is by not getting attention on it. Like, and with attention comes that pressure to be digestible, to be boxed in. And so like, like I think arts have always done that. Like underground types of communities of artists, like they're always doing things that don't make it a sort of like digestible mainstream thing. And like part of the way it gets cultivated is because it's not known or seen as much. And that might just be blind faith and optimism, but I think that I'm a firm believer that there's way more going on than any of us know. And there's so much better stuff going on than any of us know. And that might just be my own comfort blanket. But I just think like, why would I know about some of these things? Why would I be aware of like where the weirdest, newest, most experimental stuff is? Like,
right.
But I don't think that because I don't know, it's not there. I think that it's somewhere.
That's such a good point to make, because I think a lot of us are like, when we were young and kind of new, like that's why I'm like, oh, so many good things happen in the 2010s or whatever. And it's like, that's because that's when I was out and like so much a part of it, and I was young and experimental, and now I'm older, and I don't, not that cool things don't happen when you're older and stuff, but it's like, it's definitely a thing of like almost ego, that it's like things were good when I was young and nothing else can be happening now. And that's sad.
Yeah.
There's also a thing of like, that I do think is kind of sad, at least about probably LA and New York City as well, is that especially LA has become so expensive in the past, 5-10 years, like just through the roof. And as prices are going up, and it's like there's more desperation to sell out, and also like less of I'm just going to experiment because I work my job and I pay my rent. Like that's becoming less and less possible. So it feels like, I gotta like sell vitamins or something. Like I gotta be digestible immediately, even before anything. I haven't, So what's happening is probably in places where it's easier to live, maybe, or also here. I don't know.
Yeah, what's that
but
one?
I think
that one joke. I forget the comedian's name, but they're like, you want to see a real freak? Like, show me a drama kid in Albany.
That's Chris Fleming.
Yeah.
So good, like the best right now, and posting all their stuff on like Instagram and stuff, but just like so smart and funny. I love that joke. He's like, you think David Bowie is weird? He's a jock,
Yeah, I forgot the setup. Yeah. But there is something too, like, I remember when I was like, back when I was hitchhiking, it's like I ended up in St. Louis, and there was like, like a whole Midwestern anarchist scene between Detroit and St. Louis, and I don't know, a couple other cities, but you know what I mean? You're like, it does pop up sometimes in like places where like you can buy a house for $30,000. So like, that's where like, if you want the time to work out things, you might just end up in some of those places. But I remember thinking about that with like that move from the Bay to LA, like when you were thinking about that, like, yeah, it does just become, and Pittsburgh struggled with this so much. Like Pittsburgh was too isolated. Like it was cheap, but like it lacks the inflow of other places. And there just isn't, almost everybody has to leave at some point because it's just too isolated. Like, it's so tricky.
Yeah, because like I'll go, perform in some other towns like in the Northwest and stuff. And I'm just like, the issue with the comedians here is they are good, but the community is so supportive that they're not getting pushed to get better. I'm like, this is just sickeningly supportive.
Oh, in the towns.
Yeah. Where I'm just like, you're actually doing these artists a disservice by being like, that was wonderful. We're having so much fun. The desperation for any entertainment just makes everything amazing.
Yeah.
So that's sad too when that happens, where I'm like, God, this show sucks. That sounds so mean.
You're like, there's too many high fives for how that went.
Like, your high fives make me want to puke.
Is that from the audience, or is that from like the community of comedians? Like, say, I'm guessing then like LA is, you go to LA and it's like it's a tougher environment. Like, is that from the audiences, or is that from like the comedians? Like, to get on is tougher.
It's hard to say, because I think both, because I think that it is possible to have like a really healthy, just like supportive community wherever. Like I opened for Bobcat Goldthwait a couple of years ago, and he was and it was in San Francisco, and he was talking about how like San Francisco, the audience used to be so like into the local scene, like, and of course you had like freaking Robin Williams and shit up there, and you had like Richard Pryor and stuff performing up there. Like it was San Francisco has an amazing comedy history. And Bobcat was saying like, like the audience would boo LA comics. Like they didn't want to see anyone from out of town. And I'm like, that's so great, because now I go to the Bay and the audience is coming out only for famous New York, LA comedians for the most part. And it's like, how do you kind of like create your scene where you're really propping up your local artists?
Mm-hmm. It does seem like heavily weighted to like a handful of people at the top. Is that the case?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like the Dark Ages in England or something, where it's like you have the royals and the peasants.
There can only be 4 royals at a time.
Economically, yeah. I mean, Instagram and podcasting and stuff has actually changed some of that there's in a way more access to randos to just make some money by getting a following.
The good old following.
Which I don't partake in.
Yeah.
I don't partake in having followers of any kind.
I think about that, like, I don't know if you have this with like Bellingham friends where you're sort of like, I do feel like across the board there were so many amazing people, but also across the board I don't think anybody really would ever care enough to like strike it big at something. Like there's some level of like what it takes is not really like in us. Like
I know.
You know what I mean? Like
I know. Yeah. I hear like my more successful friends like complaining about all these emails. They're like, oh God, I've got like 7,000 emails. And I'm like, I have no emails. Nobody has emailed me. It's incredible. I can just turn on the TV. Yeah, I guess I don't have what it takes. I thought I did, but it's just like, I'm not really trying to like fully hustle. You know, like I said about watching the airplane map, like I just want to sit there. Most of the time, I just want to sit down.
No, I'm with you 100%. That's the mindfuck of it all is you're like, this is not in me. I understand that this is like the step, but like, yeah, it's a nice day. I might just go for a walk. I don't know. It's like, but you can't have, I mean, you can and you can't. Like, I can just pile up days where it's like, not today. Not like not hustling today. And then you're like, oh, it's been 6 months since I've really like put a foot forward. Yeah.
I know. I have little stints. Where I go for it on social media and stuff. And then I back off and I don't know. I get a little depressed of it, but you know, there's a lot of things happening politically and also just being here in LA and like having wildfires and stuff. Like when things feel so shaken up, it is like a thing of like, oh, I think we're so programmed to like focus on our own success and kind of getting ahead. And then like when the fires happened, it was like, oh, community is the thing. Like everyone volunteering and giving money right now is the thing. You know, I've looked back on times like the lockdown and COVID, and I was like, I really didn't perform. I was very strict about not performing till I was vaccinated. And even then, like if there was like any kind of rise in cases or whatever, I wasn't super involved. And then I saw like so many people get pretty successful who were willing to perform throughout COVID. And I'm like, so I do and I'm like, dang it, look out for number one. But then I'm like, that's not right. That doesn't feel right. So, and I think that a lot of people of our like generation and in general right now feel that push and pull of like the capitalism of like, the promise is right there. And, you know, I can even help more people should I be successful. And I could, you know, but then there's this other side that's like, just live your life. And I'm not even saying the first one's wrong, that I shouldn't be grinding more or whatever, but it's, I think everyone does feel that push and pull towards like keeping your head down and going forward on the laid out path of your career, whatever. And then this other side that's like, let's make a weird garden somewhere public, like a guerrilla garden.
And I'm going to jump out from behind the trees every Tuesday.
Like that's what I dream of. Like nothing that has any kind of income, of just like, ooh, I hide in the tree and I wear a green hat and all the children come and laugh and play and then I scare them away.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to be like another comedian or do you want to be the tree lady that lives on down the lane?
That is an easy answer. Easy answer.
I feel like as the years add up to, like, I've been thinking more about this, like, it feels very easy that this kind of energy of life chaos could just drag on for our entire lives. Like the kind of dangled carrot of like success of some kind of career, like the political chaos. Like I'm starting to feel like there is like the very reality of it all, but I also get worried that like in some ways we can just be tricked into entire lives like chasing these carrots and thinking that we're gonna like we need to fight another political battle online today. Like it just feels like I'm like I don't want my whole life to be
I
that.
know.
Like, and I'm starting to feel like tricked into that, and I think that I don't know. We could use a little more tree ladies, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, we're already pretty deep in my life here. Like, I could easily see it just being the end and being like, dang it. They got me. They got me this whole time. But I don't actually know which path is them getting me.
I thought you were saying that you're pretty far down, so if you became the tree lady, people would be like, that's not even a rebrand. That's
No, I don't think anyone would think it's a rebrand. I do not. I think that makes perfect sense. I can't wait to just be a tree hag. I'm well on my way.
Yeah, I'm ready to be a ghoul.
What I'm saying is, like, in a way, I feel like if I'm the tree hag, I feel like they got me that way too. Because I didn't take a piece of something that could have made my life easier.
No, this is where I would overlay a bunch of political things. Like, this is me reclaiming autonomy over my choices and connecting with nature. It's like you just got to put all the terms on like what that tree role would be for you.
But the reality is, I still work in a diner in that scenario, probably. And her knees already hurt. Her knees are already hurting. I'm not even going to be able to jump from the tree because of what the diner is doing to my knees.
Yeah, but then the neighbor boy can lower you down.
Why does this sound like the best children's book ever? It's like her knees hurt, so she could not jump from the tree. What's a tree lady to do? But Jimmy, what a nice boy. Well, but I will say that what I loved about reading your book right now is it is hard. It's a hard time. I think it's been a hard time at various points in our lives globally and personally. Do I be a tree lady or do I post on social media every 10 seconds? And it offers ways forward. It offers like the concept of picturing the best scenario, and like it just offers opportunity. I feel like of not being so stuck, knowing that there's always a way through. I had a boyfriend in college. I don't know if you remember him, but he worked in the chemistry department, and he was doing this study where he was sitting down at this thing called the scanning tunneling machine. And he would just sit there and like look at this little computer for like 20 hours a day. And he was doing, and I think he won awards for this research he was doing that I have no idea of what he's doing. The way he described it to me is he was like, if you throw a tennis ball at a brick wall enough times, eventually it'll just go through. And that's what I'm studying. Like, that's the only thing I could latch onto. So no matter what, there's a way through.
That's good. Sometimes when I hear something like that, I'm like, I feel like I'm overthinking life a little too much. Yeah.
But sometimes like sitting down and thinking it through is like, gosh, I'm not so stuck. There's other ways. And it's about being creative and staying open, I think, kind of.
Yeah. And I think those are the most interesting parts about life, are the kind of messy, you're in it kind of moments. Like, yeah, I feel like the book is for all the kind of strategic parts in there about trying to create change. Like, I feel like at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, I feel like life is a little more interesting when we're all leaning into like our own kind of messy layers and murkiness and like, because I even know like, socially, it's like when you're around people who are like, their style is so good. It's like, I would never put that together. I couldn't do that. That like the way they carry themselves, like I feel like it rubs off and you're kind of like, oh, I need a little more of that. I'm a little too straightforward right now. And I think that like, yeah, I feel like it's a good, just like human reminder.
Yes, I love that. What's your favorite story if you had to pick one from this book? Your favorite guy in here? Or one that's resonating with you right now?
I mean, the one I think is the one that you posted the other day is the last chapter on Marlon Riggs. It was like a gay black filmmaker. I love him, and I love that chapter because he made a work called Tongues Untied, which was this very kind of experimental documentary about being black and gay, but the premise there is that like he used a form of filmmaking where he combined all these things in ways that nobody else had, like sort of parallels with the HIV/AIDS movement. Like that movement had to combine pieces of things in ways that nobody had before in order to kind of like accomplish what it wanted to accomplish. And for me, I think that like I think the general premise of that chapter I come back to a lot, which is like the challenges that we're going to face either now or like soon are probably going to look a little bit like things we faced before and a little bit like something totally new, some new weird amalgamation of things. And I think that like Riggs just is this beautiful, brilliant person. Like interviews with him are just like very touching and like just very insightful. But then I think just the reminder of like what we need to do next is probably not do the thing that we've tried and failed with before, but it's probably some mix. And I think that like personally and professionally and culturally, I think that being willing to combine things in new ways is probably one of the most interesting ways to go.
Well, I am excited to see what people come up with right now. We'll see.
I got faith. We'll figure it out.
I feel faith too, actually, weirdly. But I actually think your book helped me with that right now. So thanks for writing it so that you could be here in my apartment and then also in upstate New York. I love it. And I have two songs that came to mind a lot when I was thinking about ambiguity and like being an ambiguous person or embracing ambiguity were two 90s hits. Maybe there was a lot of ambiguity being embraced in the 90s, but one, of course, is I'm a bitch, I'm a lover, I'm a child, I'm a mother. It's like, I'm all of it. And then the other one, who's actually Alanis Morissette, although a lot of people say that one's Alanis, but it's Meredith Brooks, is I got one hand in, well, yeah, I'm broke, but I'm happy. I'm poor, but I'm kind. I'm sick, but I'm healthy. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to share that those songs have been empowering my ambiguity.
That stretch of singers of like, women singers in that era. Yeah. Oh my God. That's like, I don't know. What do you, my safe space.
Totally.
I could go back to that. Like Tracy, for me, like Tracy Chapman is one of those ones. I'm like,
Chapman.
Oh my God. Anytime I hear Tracy Chapman, I was like, come on. I think sneaking in some Meredith Brooks, that was smooth. That was smooth brain activity.
Oh, thanks. Hell yeah. This smooth brain can be a real smooth cat sometimes. Okay, well, thanks, Kyle Crawford. And is there anything you want people to look out for in terms of you?
Nothing else. Nothing. This was a pleasure. It's so nice to catch up with you.
I know. It's so good to see you. So
happy for you and so happy we got to do
I'm
this.
always delighted. I remember in Oakland, delighted. Today, delighted.
Oh.
In the future, also delighted. I hope. Unless things take a bad turn for us. Hope not. Okay. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you so much. I'll see you.
Well, that was that. And this is this. Tell me what you want and tell me what you miss. Got away from me. Thanks for listening all the way through, and thanks for all your patience me getting this up. I hope you listening to my my ill voice, my struggling immune system of a Victorian child. And I appreciate your patience because turns out I'm being screened for ADHD, so that's a real thing. But now it's live. We got it out. We did it with all our disabilities. And I wanted to remind you that you can leave me voice memos to be put at the end of every episode. I want to have I want to feature all of you and your thoughts and your songs and your whatever, literally anything. You can leave a message at 747-666-7005, or you can email if you want to do like a high quality sound recording. You can email sometimelinepod@gmail.com. Or you can just type me a little email and I'll read it. You could ask me a question, whatever. Let's get that going. Since this new podcast, there hasn't been opportunity really for anyone to do that yet. I hope they start. So I thought I'd read a little bit of this braiding sweetgrass book that I'm reading to you guys, because I started off this episode by saying everyone's doing a good job with everything that's going on. But then last night I listened to this news clip that was like, all the birds are dying. And I'm like, God, that's, when it's a specific obscure kind of species that goes extinct or something, you're like, oh God, that's horrible. But when it's just like birds, it's like, come on, you guys, the time to riot is now. And this is the chapter where she's talking about maple trees and how they're not going to be a thing in New England because of climate change and stuff. And she ends this chapter by saying, individuals far wiser than I have said that we get the government we deserve. That may be true, but the maples are most generous of benefactors and most responsible of citizens do not deserve our government. They deserve you and me speaking up on their behalf. To quote our town councilwoman, show up to the damn meeting. Political action, civic engagement. These are powerful acts of reciprocity with the land. The Maple Nation Bill of Responsibilities asks us to stand up for the people, for the standing people, to lead with the wisdom of maples. Well, that was kind of hard for me to read in a way, but that's Robin Wall Kimmerer. And that's been it. I want to thank Seth Hover for doing sound production. I want to thank Jeff Traeger for doing the music, AJ Howard for the cool podcast art, and Adam Slows for editing the social media clip. And thanks, you guys, and hope to see you I'll hear you later on I hope you enjoy the next portion of your timeline until next we meet.